What up, YouTube and everyone listening to this podcast? It's your boy John, and this is the Just No BS podcast. As always, I'm joined by my two co-hosts,
Dev?
and on the end,
This is Cal. What's good?
and we're back at it. And with the year winding down, we're gonna keep this one simple but also very informative, and hopefully it'll be a good discussion. This is going to be our end of year review of video games for the year 2024. Now, we're not going to just talk about particular games. I mean, we will talk about particular games, but we're going to have a more deeper discussion, kind of just break down the year, what we think, how we think the year's felt, and all that nonsense and yakety yak. So we'll just kick things off and get things started. That being said, we are filming right when the Video Game Awards are out, so we won't be talking about that very much, but definitely go ahead. If you're going to be already watching it, tell us what you think about whoever wins Game of the Year, Score of the Year, any of that good stuff. It's ironically enough, me and Cal have had this conversation already a little bit, but we both think this has been a very weird year for gaming. At the same time, the candidates that are going to be the for Game of the Year are going to be some pretty good hitters. So what y'all think about any of the candidates? Because we're probably going to have stuff like, Black Myth Wukong and stuff like that. So what y'all got? What you think is going to win?
Go ahead, Deb.
No idea?
No, I'm still trying to decide. I'm actually looking at some of the lists right now. I have some guesses on, which ones might be at the top, but honestly, I can't really say.
Fair.
Like, I also feel a little bit biased as well on some of these.
True.
I don't think it's going to win, but just seeing the interaction, and just the interaction when it comes to like social media posts and things like that, people igniting conversations. I would think like something like Tekken, like the most recent Tekken, or Helldivers, because like Helldivers like spawned like a whole different wave of like short form content creators like making fun of like for democracy. Like it even crossed into the D&D space to where they're like making skits about people who played Helldivers too much but still trying to go to their D&D campaign on the regular. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna liberate this village for democracy, da 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 da. And they're like calling in air support. And the DM's like, you don't have planes here. And the wizard is standing up on a mountain. He's like, you got 5 fireballs coming in, DM. I need you to roll 36 D4 for the damn, like, just like this type of just fun. Everybody's in on the conversation. Helldivers 2 is one of the main games in recent times that made me be like, damn, I need to hurry up and get this PS5. Because again, I put it off because a lot of games kind of get released everywhere for the most part. It's not many exclusives that I feel like I'm missing out on personally. But Helldivers 2 was one of those that I was like, damn, I wish I had that PS5. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how that shakes out. But this year was very weird with great games, terrible games, and weird backlash to the releasing of said games across the board that kind of skewed my enthusiasm for the most part. So
I feel you. And to quickly jump in here, I know Helldivers 2 is not a nominee for Game of the Year. Unfortunately, I think it's nominated for Best Ongoing Game, but not Best Game of the Year. I have a feeling that because of the Elden Ring fanboys, Elden Ring's probably going to win the Game of the Year, even though I personally don't think it should technically count. That's a weird gray area. But I personally would hope that Metaphor Fantasia wins, because you know me, I love a good JRPG, and that was the epitome of JRPGs. Just I'm still going through it, man. Like I hadn't had time to play it, but like I'm like 25 hours in now, and that game cooks. That game cooks. So like I'm really hoping that game won. But I have a feeling it's gonna be Elden Ring. Especially after the first one, but we'll see.
So looking over the options for Game of the Year, uh, and I just wanted to go and confirm, I do kind of want to see Final Fantasy VII Rebirth get it, just because I did play through that one. I think it brought a lot to the remake of the Final Fantasy VII series. Uh, I personally enjoyed it. I think it's worth it. I think they put a lot of good work in it, both story, graphics, gameplay, all across the board. Great job. I would also maybe give it to Black Myth Wukong as well, because I like what they did with it. I too am playing Metaphor ReFantasio. I haven't played enough for me to definitely say that I would give it to them as well, but I am enjoying it, so I wouldn't be unhappy if they won. But I do agree that they're probably going to end up giving it to Elden Ring.
All right. Well, with that kind of intro out the way, let's start our breakdown of the year, just in terms of gaming news, and kind of what we thought of things. So we're going to go ahead and start off with Sony just fucking around. This is the graph of the fuck around and find out, where basically they went on this live service kick thinking they could turn every game into a live service, and they fucked around and they found out when they had to pull Concord with 2 weeks to go, or 2 weeks in, not even 2 weeks to go. They just 2 weeks in the game and they had to pull it and refund everybody. Like, that brings up a larger question of like, what happened to companies having some creativity? We're definitely going to talk more about that in general, but what do y'all think of just Sony's direction with some of these live service games?
My thing is fuck them. I'll be honest. Let's just cut to the brass tacks. It's fuck them. And then the CEO came out, if I remember correctly. I think it was the CEO who was like, "Yeah, like this is essentially like the gamers' fault. They have unrealistic expectations, blah blah blah. Like, why are you down talking us when somebody just last year gave you a working model of how to put out a great game that does not require live service anything, that isn't fucking swimming in microtransactions in Baldur's Gate. They took their time, they picked their shots, and they did what they set out to do, period. So much so that they were like, we're not even going to be pushing DLC on it. Y'all just enjoy the game. Enjoy it for what it is. That's why the dude from United got shot. Y'all are being greedy. Stop playing. Just give us what we ask for. We don't ask for much. Just give us a great game, give us a great storyline. Some of us care about character creation or whatever the case may be, cool. But people do like great one person storyline, like story rich things. And then we also still want y'all to give us couch co ops. Y'all don't do either one. You do the opposite. And you expect us to be happy about buying something that we don't want. Just like y'all don't want DEI, we don't want this bullshit you've been giving us.
We'll touch on that in a second, but yeah. No, I mean, I agree. Like, again, we're going to talk more about this later in the episode, but like, there used to be like this art in gaming where like you came up with an idea and you worked and were super creative about how you got to the idea. Now they just think the answer is just throw microtransactions and live service into everything. That'll fix it. No, that's the complete opposite.
And Bethesda Europe next. I got Jason. I got the whole Starfield. Like I got the big boy, the $100-something one where you get the soundtrack and the.
I gotta warn you on that one, fam.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that one.
No, they wore it. I didn't say, "Oh, somebody got me." I got it in good faith. Like, oh, this looks like it's going to be amazing. The history of Bethesda, typically, like the bugs kind of work themselves out with updates. The community does a lot of work. Blah blah blah. But in my mind, I was like, it's going to be at least rich in story and rich in experience. So this feels like a snapshot in time. When I say I just deleted all that shit off my console, bro, I was so mad. Like, I didn't even ask for a refund. I was like, you got me. You got me. You got me. But let y'all do this with Skyrim.
Elder Scrolls 6.
Elder Scrolls 6, I'm sorry. I dare you. I double dog dare you. Do this. I double dog dare you. Oh, it's over for y'all. Like,
Before I let you go, Devin, 2 games that are upcoming that are highly anticipated. If these companies don't land them, there's going to be hell to pay. GTA 6 and Elder Scrolls 6. Whenever those 2 games drop, whether it's next year or the year after, those companies better not drop the ball, because Rockstar will lose all faith. People are already making memes about anything and be like, "This came out before before GTA 6," and then Bethesda just been dropping the ball with so much other stuff. It's like, y'all about to lose all your good faith if you don't land this one too. So, what you got, Devin? What you thinking?
So to kind of tie into certain games like that, another game that I was recently introduced to by a couple of other friends is Marvel Rivals.
That just dropped last week.
Yep. And I've been watching them play, and they're trying to convince me to play. It's not really my cup of tea, but I kind of like it. The reason why I bring that up is because one of the devs actually kind of spoke up about why that game succeeded where Concord is failing, or has failed already, I should say. One of the quotes specifically from the game director that I pulled up was that the game didn't bring any unique value to the players. And there's also the issue that they didn't take into consideration that there is basically a switching cost when it comes to switching from one game to another. So they brought up the idea of like, oh, hey, you're playing Overwatch and so on and so forth. You've spent all that time playing it. You have all those different skins, so on and so forth. Whereas, hey, once you're going into a new game, you have to have something to draw them in. And Conquer, all they did was just throw something out there and said, oh, hey, people are going to play it because they play this type of game already, which is kind of an insult to the players themselves, in my opinion.
No. I was watching a gaming podcast, and they pretty much said the same thing. Like, for the most part, live service games are just like MMOs. If you play them, you're going to put a lot of time into them. And the only reason to continue putting time into them is if there are perceived rewards for putting your time in. A lot of MMOs have hard modes, challenge quests, big raids, whatever. A game like Marvel Rivals is very similar to a game like League of Legends or Overwatch, like you mentioned, where like there's high like esports potential, so being good may have a reward, but at the same time, those types of games are games you can jump in and out of, have some fun with your friends, leave, and it's also like a low investment, high investment kind of switch off. So like to land those games properly, there has to be some kind of perceived value to it. Apparently Concord didn't have any of that, which is crazy because I thought the one concept they had that was good for Concord was the fact that the game was like episodic, where like every week there was gonna be, or was it every month? I don't know. It was some crap like that, where after a certain period of time there's gonna be a new part to the story that whatever season was built upon. Like that concept sounded cool. It sounded cool as hell. It's very similar to like Helldivers, where like your missions actually have an effect of the world of the game, which in turn develops some of the other missions. Like that's a a give and pull, a push and pull to it. So it's like the concept was fundamentally great, but unfortunately, Sony just did not know how to stick the landing on that, and unfortunately, there was nothing else that was enticing.
Right, and that's really the big issue with it, is the fact that yes, they might have had a great concept, but if they don't have anything that keeps people there to see that payoff, then they're not going to stay, and that's the issue.
Yep.
They just assumed that people were just going to eat it up and call it a day, and didn't put any quality into it like they should have.
Yeah, it was lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then there was another like hero shooter that was announced tonight on the part of the gaming awards that I did see, and it's like, stop doing this. Like, I know companies are built to follow a winning formula, and whenever somebody comes through and does something, you're like, oh, we can just do this as our company and put our spin on it. Stop doing it. Just invest the money in the creatives who have great divergent ideas and unique stories and let that go. Period. Like,
a great analogy I heard someone say is that the gaming companies are acting like basketball teams right now, where after one team figures out a winning strategy, every other team tries to copy it. The problem is the personnel you have may not fit the style of the team that won. You have to maximize your strengths, and hopefully that's good enough to win you said championship. And that's the problem with too many of these companies. Like Sony, your strength was in, for the most part, your strength was in high quality single player story experiences, high cinematic, great in-depth stories. Like, come on, your playbook for like the last 15 years, think about it. When you have Last of Us, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War reboot, Final Fantasy, like, you're good at these single player experiences. Yeah, that doesn't mean you can't have a couple multiplayer games in there, maybe one live service title, but to try to do it to everything is not your strength. This is what happened to Blizzard and why they started falling off, because they tried to turn everything into a live service model also. Like, no. Like, I get it. You want to have some recurring revenue to boost your shareholder profits and lift some of your wallets even when things are down, which as a business I get it, but like one, maybe two games. We don't need to try to turn everything.
To punctuate your point, Jason, before we move forward, specifically in the NBA, the Houston Rockets were the people under D'Antoni who were the people who coined relying heavily on that plus minus analysis and looking at it and saying essentially like a 3-pointer or a layup / dunk is more valuable than a mid-range shot. Because they're looking at the teams that won. So you're looking at the individuals like Golden State, like Boston, when it was Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett. You're looking at the Miami Heat when it was LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Ray Allen. And yes, that works, but y'all do not have a LeBron or a Steph Curry. At the time, they had James Harden. That's great, but those numbers, like when people say the stupid thing, that's one of my triggers. Y'all are going to learn about it as we keep going and doing pods. Like I have a taste of the tism, and it's like when people say things that don't match what they're saying, pisses me off. Like when people are like, "Oh, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie." Numbers do not lie, but they can be misinterpreted and misapplied
and manipulated.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's like no matter how great of a score from 40 feet in James Harden is, he will never, ever, ever, he can come back in the next life. He will never be a better 3-point shooter than Steph Curry. This man is someone we were not supposed to see in our lifetime. And he's still just doing it. LeBron playing long enough for his freaking son to get into the league and potentially being healthy enough to see his next son come into the league is something that's statistically an anomaly. Y'all thinking that you can just, we could just do what Steph does. You can't. We could just do what LeBron does. You can't. You don't have those two. So it doesn't matter what the mathematics say. Realistically, you don't have it, and you never will. So just adjust and move accordingly. That's it, Jason.
I agree. And to take that analogy back, these companies aren't the companies, ironically enough, that keep sticking to their guns and stick to the strengths are the ones that are still thriving. Look at Atlas. They're not a AAA.
I was about to say Atlas.
Yeah. Atlas is not a AAA developer. They're more like a single A or AA developer. But between Persona, ReFantazio, and some of these other like great SMT games, they're highly relevant. They just don't be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna drop 50, 100 million into this game and wait 8 years and it's going to be a generic live service. No, they always are cooking something interesting and new. Even if they have a formula, they're sticking to their guns and then applying something new to it. Nintendo, for as much talk as people like to say about Nintendo being childish or whatever, even though that is a whole nother tangent I will get on that we don't have time for, but as much as people say that, they understand that most of their money comes from having family-oriented games. That's why there's going to be a new Mario Party, Mario Kart, Wii, sports. Whatever. They're going to make money on these things because they know that a lot of games are good for the family. So like they're going to stick to that guns. And yeah, they're going to have your Legend of Zeldas, you know, in other titles like that to kind of have a little bit of diversity, Metroid, etc., they stick to what they know and then try to apply new things every so often to keep themselves fresh. So a lot of these companies actually just need to stick to their guns more and just be a little more creative. That's
Right.
pretty much it.
It really comes down to those different companies realizing where their dev strengths are, and then making sure that they are targeting their audience. If they're not doing that and they're trying to stretch out too far, or they're just trying to say, oh, hey, well, again, using your examples there of different teams and so on and so forth, and going well outside of what their teams are capable of doing, they're going to fail every single time. We're going to see more games like Concord.
Yep. And on that note, we'll actually switch topics a little bit here to another type of controversy that was pretty big this year. And it kind of really got started off with Steam changing their terms of service. And we're talking about the game ownership controversy. I forget which CEO was quoted as saying that in the future, no one's going to own games. Everything will just be streamed through the cloud. And I honestly think that's a fallacy. And I'm going to use a music comparison. People thought vinyls were dead like 10 years ago. All vinyls did was become a niche market that winds up being more of a collector's market. I feel the same way about gaming. Maybe the amount of physical media it's already declining, but it'll become more of a, you know what, if you really like this title, you might get the collector's physical copy. But one, I don't think physical copies should ever die because we need something to hold these companies in check, because some of these terms of services are out here wild, talking about if this game doesn't work, I won't refund you. Yeah, nice try, Cyberpunk 2077. Like, that was last year, but still good, or 2 years ago. Good, nice try. Like,
wait, was that 2 years ago or 3 years ago?
2-3 years. It was a couple years back, but still, it wasn't anywhere close to this year. But I just referenced that.
That was 4 years ago.
Time flies.
You're right, because Phantom Liberty came out last year. Oh, that was 4 years ago. Jeez.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, I fundamentally don't think physical media should ever go away. But I will say though, especially with the European Union constantly regulating the crap out of video games and like how to do some of these live service models, they better be careful because they'll come for that ass. Like, like some of these countries are not playing. So like, they just need to let people. I don't care if it's called a license or whatever. The whole point is if I buy it, I should own it. Even if I own the license to let me play this copy of the game. If I bought it and I can prove I bought it, I own it and I need to be able to re-download it or whatever. Even if you don't ever make updates for it again, I don't care. If I bought it, I should have the capability to re-download it unless your server completely dies. And even then, I should be able to have like my own installer or something. Like, they better stop playing with us because people will throw this industry upside down if that becomes a thing.
People have already started. I'm not saying I'm a part. But there was an individual who said something when that initial statement came out where he was like, okay, well, if buying games doesn't mean I own them, then pirating them doesn't mean I'm stealing. And it was like, be very careful. Again, be very careful. Be very careful. I'm not talking to the consumers. I am never talking to the people when I give caveat emptors for the most part. Companies, be very careful because it doesn't matter. It can come from both ends when you're talking about either delivering the product or receiving the product. The average working person, that shit can get leaked by an intern and just send out a hot link on Twitter. And then if y'all do take it down, we just go on the archive or go over to whatever Wayback Machine or what and still get it. And then y'all still don't see any money. And we just enjoy the half-finished product and let the modders finish the game. Play stupid if you want to. This can get very Orwellian for y'all. Yeah. Obviously, we know it can happen the other way, but this can get dark for y'all very quickly because people are very savvy. People are very, very united on the standpoint of not allowing industries, establishments, labels, brands, creative companies control how they enjoy what they put their time, effort, and money into. Like, this shit can go very left.
There's
Very,
always a
very,
tipping point.
yeah. So that's all I'm saying. Even if you don't respect your integrity, respect ours. Period. That's where I'm coming from.
Yep.
So, what blows my mind is the fact that game companies haven't already learned that people are not going to react well to stuff like this. Uh, if and correct me if I'm wrong here, but back when the Xbox One was originally coming out, there was that whole controversy with their games where as soon as you put it into the system and everything, into your particular system, that you couldn't pass it on to like your friends or anything of that nature,
Yeah.
and people lit them up over that.
Yeah, it was bad because Nintendo and Sony had commercials trolling them. When
Mhm.
Nintendo has the capability to troll someone and say, hey, here's how we share games, and hand the person the disc, that killed Xbox for like a solid year. That was terrible.
Right. So if they've already seen this is how people react to something that is less of an issue, because at least in that case, you owned the game, you had the physical copy, you owned something.
Mhm.
And then now they're doing something even worse, and they're expecting people to just say, oh, hey, that's fine. Like, what are we doing?
It's not enough. I'm not going to go on that rant. It's not enough penalty to them yet. They don't see how quickly this thing can dry up. I forget the name of the game that tried to get announced. Well, they launched it. I think it was like a year and a half or 2 years ago, where it was like I think it was like an MMO RPG, like live service type game, to where it was like a shooter, post apocalyptic shooter, and like the developers were essentially scamming. They got a bunch of people to buy into it, and then once you got the game, it wasn't even functional. It was very Division aesthetic coded. Um, I forget what the name of the game was, but like people were having massive issues as to where it was like the head on somebody that you were shooting would like jump up to an exorbitant rate and pop up on like teleprompters or whatever the case may be. In the gaming studio, they were taking certain items and things like that from like The Last of Us and Division and things like that to build up the money for their startup. And then when it came out, everybody got it and was ready for it to be the new thing. And then once people realized it was a shit game, everybody left. It tanked it. It destroyed the studio. They had to issue a public apology. Like, all of y'all, Bethesda, Blizzard, Rockstar, all of y'all are one of those away at this point because of how you've treated your customers. Y'all are one hiccup away because we didn't forget what y'all did, Rockstar, when y'all, instead of adding on additional stuff to Red Dead Redemption 2 online and building up that and allowing us to have a great, more immersive experience and DLCs and da 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 da, you just focus your attention more so to GTA 5 online and GTA 6 so that you can monetize more because y'all, netting $1 billion a year in microtransactions, which is insane when you think about it. It's not even a new game. Like, that's higher than the majority of countries' GDP out here from one company. $1 billion a year. So again, be very, very careful. Be very, very careful how you gotta move forward. 2K, Take Two Interactive, y'all are in that position too. People are getting tired of your shit. Madden, y'all are also in. Be careful. The Call of Duty situation, y'all just got one with this most recent one because people were about to step away from y'all post pandemic because there was no grandiose changes and things. Y'all are one of those away, and this shit can go, and you can literally lose hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, CD Projekt Red took them a while to get some of that goodwill back after Cyberpunk 2077.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is why I made that joke earlier about GTA 6, because GTA 5 came out in 2013. And then GTA Online came out a month later in October of that year. So it was like September, October. So that game has been going on an 11-year run, just mostly because of its online functionality. Cool. There are a lot of MMOs that are World of Warcraft, 14, Final Fantasy 14 online. Like there are a lot of games that got a good run, but if y'all don't start cooking with something soon,
It's over.
that goodwill just slowly drops.
Now, I will add one thing. I do feel that some of this is partially our fault as consumers because for years, game companies have said, "Oh, hey, let's kind of push the line a little bit. Let's push the line a little bit," and then we just keep throwing money at it. We need to be able to vote with our wallets, essentially. If they are doing things that are clearly insulting us at this point, then we need to be able to go and say enough's enough and then not provide any further money to it. Otherwise, they're not going to learn. They're just going to keep doing the same exact things.
No, I agree. And I feel like there were a few companies that learned that are starting to pick up some of their goodwill. Square Enix and Capcom over the last 5 years, it feels like they learned from that previous end of PS3, PS4 generation where they're like, oh, we can't mess around like that. We actually have to give you quality product. And I mean, Square Enix was held up by Final Fantasy 14 for like 5 to 6 years because all their other games were like, we got to make sure we got this right. So,
and two, that's why I stand on what I stand on with 2K, like in my own life, as well as Madden. I'm a big sports person. Like I love sports. I haven't bought a Madden in years. I haven't bought a 2K in years, either. And that, like, even though I love my peoples, I love my friends, and they be playing them off and on, not as much as they used to, obviously, because we're all a little bit older. People got wives, kids, actual careers,
jobs.
stuff like that. Yeah. But I was one of the first that was like, this 2K stuff is some bullshit. Like, I can't function with y'all. And as much as I understand, I hear people who talk about the MMOs and things like that. Like, yeah, y'all think y'all have it bad. Come over here to 2K. Come look at what they're doing to people in 2K real quick.
It's not the same.
Like, it's a different, bro, it's a different level of just financial disrespect. Period. It's not even close. Like, I could see if MMOs were doing things where it was like, oh yeah, for $50 you can buy a plus 12 sword. And it's like, wait, bitch, what? You can just outpace everyone immediately. You're not even keeping it close, like functional usage.
The thing is, though, there were some that did that for a hot minute. A lot of those didn't survive, but
they didn't survive though. But 2K is like, okay, cool. We're not gonna make you. No, that's a lie too. You can literally buy your character up to 85. Because they make everybody start at like a 66 or 65 or something like that. So you buy the game's like $70, $80. And then for an additional like $40, $45, you can buy your character up to 85, which typically means on any NBA team, if you're not the sixth man, you're probably starting depending on your position, which means you're able to grind a little bit more, rank up quicker so that when you play against actual people, you know what I'm saying? You're more of a threat. That right there, like that being intrinsically known, like, okay, yeah, so I know the game's XYZ, but it really costs this if I want to play online. That's insane, bro. So essentially, you're charging us almost $140 a game a year in perpetuity.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I haven't played a 2K since 2K like 14.
That's fair.
Because of the same reason. And even then, I only picked up 2K14 just because I needed a game to hold me over to like a game I actually wanted to play. So like I got it on sale, waiting for another game. But yeah, no, they're getting dumb out here. But switching over to other controversies that we had to deal with this year. let's just start off with we got the Stellar Blade controversy earlier in the year. I think that's just people going to the wrong places for the wrong type of entertainment. I'll say that. And and I get it. If you got on like PC, do your secret modding if you want her to wear like the thinnest thong ever. But like these are things that should not be controversies. We get it. Every hot-blooded male and very hot-blooded females in other ways like scantily clad females, but chill out, guys. It's a video game. Like, relax. Take a step back. That the whole fact that they remove some costumes, that should have never been a controversy. But I digress. It's the stuff people get pissed off with is dumb. So we're not going to spend too much time on the Stellar Blade one. That was pretty dumb. However, the Assassin's Creed Shadow controversy, that one that conversation is tailor made for us three here, and I'm just gonna say y'all don't like seeing black people win. Y'all just don't.
Y'all racist. So following, because the same group that was mad about the Stellar Blade video game were the same individuals mad about the Assassin's Creed to an extent. Like it's
Similar
a
people.
diagram, yes, but it's more so a circle for real. Not only are y'all horny and weird, y'all are racist too. Bitch, do you have any redeeming qualities? What's wrong with you? What? And again, also going, I know we're not going to talk about it tonight, Jazo, but it's the Dan thing as well.
Oh, Dan? Yeah.
My bad. I said Dan. My dumbass. Like, it's all of that. Y'all are just racist, bro. Like, it's a circle. You don't get pussy. Mm-hmm. I know you don't. Look at me. I know you don't get pussy. You're racist because you feel like some black quarterback back in high school or whatever in your formative years smashed your would-be wife. That bitch didn't know you. And y'all are dirty. Look at you. You're nasty. You're nasty. You got come on the keyboard trying to download scantily clad women for Stellar Blade. You're nasty. I don't feel bad for y'all. I don't. I don't like that weird pseudo amalgamation of desperate, isolated, ignorant, and deplorable individuals, bro. Like, and they hover around gaming, they hover around movies, they hover around anime in and of itself, or like any type of syndicated television. Like it's just this weird, cancerous, self-surviving organism of just undesirable motherfuckers. I don't like that, which puts me off to a lot of other stuff that be going on, because it's like, bro, I don't want to have to defend my blackness to like something.
Big facts. Say it again for the people in the back.
I don't want to have to defend my blackness to like something. So that's the reason why I'm not in the majority of y'all spaces. Y'all are weird. You just are. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to go too deep into it because I feel like I already gave y'all a critical analysis that's probably going to take y'all 5.5 years of therapy to get over anyway. But in reality, this is just weird. This is weird white boy shit. I'm sorry. This is the No BS podcast. It's weird white boy shit. And if you're a black dude who feels affected and offended by what I say, you view your acceptance and your success in life with the adjacency to whiteness more times than not. Don't fight me, fight your insecurities, nigga.
Fact. And the part that was crazy, I'm gonna give a quick. This is the one we're actually talking about a little bit more. But so there was a big controversy with Assassin's Creed Shadow because the main character is Yasuke from Japanese, like mythology is the wrong word, but from Japanese culture. What people were up in arms saying, like, why is everything got to be race baiting? Why do we got to do this, that, and the third? People blamed that one a consultant company for video games. What is it, like Happy Bird, or I forget what their name. It's to help input more DEI and that kind of stuff into video games to make them more inclusive. I forget the name of that company. But here's the problem: Assassin's Creed is a franchise that's always based part of its fictional storytelling in real life lore in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, it's not always 1-to-1, but it always takes something real to adapt their like way back story. Yasuke was a real character. He was a real samurai. He was actually a slave that was brought to Japan, purchased by a shogun lord, and he was taught and raised in the samurai. Literally, his rank in the Japanese feudal society was right under the shogunate. He was a samurai. So, like, to say that he was not a real person is facetious, just straight up wrong. And so what? Like, why can't we have a black samurai just to be cool? Like, why did it even matter to begin with?
So one quick thing to add to that, not only was, he was a slave that was brought over and so on and so forth, but to add to that, hey, he was a real person, they should have ordered that he be bathed and everything, because people, back then, they really didn't come across black people. So originally the people thought that, oh, hey, he was just a guy who had ink on him. So they were literally touching on him, trying to wipe away, any of the ink, thinking, oh, okay, it's just, whatever. But the shogunate had him actually washed by the people just to go and confirm, like, oh, hey, this wasn't just some type of trick. And then it was after that they was like, okay, this is the real thing. This is actually a real person, and not just, some random Japanese guy that has some ink on him. Okay, now let's move. Now that we've moved past that, let's move on. And that's how we kind of got to that point there.
Yeah, again, which is also crazy because there was no controversy over the fact that his protagonist, like the side protagonist that he has with him, is like a ninja chick. Y'all don't have problem with ninja chicks? Like,
they just chose they had to choose between in their mind, because I have my sneaky accounts, brothers. I have my
burn. You be looking to see what
because y'all weird racist motherfuckers don't exist in my house. I don't see y'all until somebody I know that I support retweets y'all. In my weird sneaky accounts, I be looking, and half of it is like conehead brain dead bullshit, which is why y'all are mad. So they gave y'all, okay, so we know that you don't get pussy and women don't like you. So we're going to give you a woman right here, which we know you hate this. Then they were like, hey, here's an actual historical figure who's a black guy. Who are you going to hate? And they're like, that Rorschach test started fucking them up in the brain. And like, bro, the black dude was the real person. I don't care. I don't like that. The BBC is invading Japan. Like, bro, calm down, bro. Like, calm down. It's gonna be
the BBC.
The BBC is invading Japan.
I can't.
One could argue that I was a nuke and it was a DP that was happening. Anyway, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But
hey, yo.
That's all it was. Because the same people that were mad at the black guy who didn't choose to be mad at the Asian woman were the same guys that you turn around, boom, they hate Laura Craft.
Which in of itself is stupid because Laura Croft is like the video game sex symbol. That shit makes no sense. Like, the logic they use is so backwards.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense. But I see it. I see what's happening. Y'all just want, I get it. A lot of people who may have been brought up on being a white man, seeing yourself as not only the main character, but through misappropriated iconography, seeing yourself as being closer physically to like people like Jesus and shit like that. Like, you want your power fantasy to be Nathan Drake. You want your power fantasy to be Joel. You want your power fantasy to be I forget the white guy's name from Vice City. That's what you want your power fantasy to be. But then you just slightly turn it and it's like a white woman and y'all lose y'all's fucking minds every time. It was Ellie from The Last of Us. Even though that was a fantastic game, there was a little white girl. We don't calm down. They attribute whiteness to Spartan. I forget the brother's numerical designation in Halo. Spartan 117. You attribute whiteness to that. You see what I'm saying? So again, the rest of the Grand Theft Auto City series, you attribute whiteness to that. That's a power fantasy. You get to live out your worst and most debaucherous shit, and it's a white man. They were mad about Franklin being a part of the trio of main characters in GTA 5. I didn't forget that.
Bro, I mean, when you just go back a couple of years when it was with the Sony releases, when we had Kratos from God of War and he was like the ultimate male power fantasy, I'm cool, bro. And then I think it was the same year when Horizon Zero Dawn dropped. But y'all got a problem with a red-haired badass with a bow and arrow? Like, fighting mecha dinosaurs and shit? First of all, we're fighting mecha dinosaurs. Who cares who's doing it? Like,
right, that's just awesome in itself.
like, just be the badass. And like, I find some of those things utterly ridiculous. Like, I get it in some situations where you don't want to force something. Like, again, like, I don't want to force being a generic white man trying to be a spy in like South Africa. Like, I could see that being a little weird, but like, when we're talking about these fictional games and countries and places that they make for these things, like, it's not that serious. Some of these same weirdos liked all the crap you can do in Mass Effect, when you could go around banging every alien known to man. Like, what?
And
Like,
even to it as an immediate counter to your point, you know why I feel like that's bullshit from them? Because they like the Hitman series. Hitman being Saudi Arabia. The fuck is a white man with a tattoo on the back of his fucking head as a barcode? How does he blend in, Jazo?
he doesn't.
That doesn't even.
No, but he uses disguises. And so yeah, not to belabor the point too much, the concept in of itself is stupid. We should just be allowing these creators to decide to make these great games, and whoever they decide to put as the main character, you should be able to relate to them in some shape or way, because that is how humanity works. Like, that is what being human's about. So like, it's not all that crazy. So
one quick thing that I do want to add to the entire controversy. Everything that we've talked about so far, completely agree with. The only portion where I might give some of the people who were making arguments about the game, maybe, is the price point. Because they were trying to put out, like, if I'm reading it correctly, an Ultimate Edition that was supposed to be selling for around $130. People are getting tired of Ubisoft with some of their price gouging. So that kind of ties into some of the things that we were talking about earlier when it comes to some of these game studios really overcharging and really trying to money grab. I will give them that. Any other part of the argument? No.
Yeah, that's fair. The whole Ultimate Edition for Assassin's Creed Shadows was like, again, if we got something for it, like the complete edition for Horizon Zero, the second Horizon, Horizon Forbidden West. I think the Ultimate Edition of that was like $120, but I got a statue that was literally like the size of like this.
Right.
Like,
that thing was beautiful because I saw it when you unpacked it.
Yeah, like,
it's worth it.
Yeah, like, if you're gonna give us these Ultimate Collections, it's got to be a true collector's item. Like the Indiana Jones game that came out, the collectors was like, I saw someone unbox that thing. That is worth the price, because you're not just giving them the game, you're giving them an experience in a collective package. If you're gonna get, It's not the 2K thing where it's like, yeah, pay $150 just to get a shit ton of VC in the game. Get that on my face.
Right. You have to bring value.
And you know what? Speaking of value, we're gonna do some quick hitters before we get to our main topic. So the last three things I want to talk about, just to kind of break down the year of gaming in general, are the rumors about the Nintendo Switch 2 or the sequel to the Nintendo Switch, and then Microsoft in their tactics about not really supporting Xbox as its own like gaming console, but they're trying to make it more like the part of Microsoft gaming in a sense. So I just kind of, as some quick hitters before we transition to our main topic, I kind of wanted to see what y'all thought about that.
You can go ahead.
I don't like the way Microsoft has been handling Xbox for the most part. There are certain things that should be like essentially like Xbox exclusives or just held in a situation as to where it maintains retention because of it simply being on Xbox, things like that. And those used to be like weird zany games as to where it was funny because you got an opportunity to be a part of like a subculture, sub community, or whatever the case may be. I don't really care about that now as an adult, for real. The main game that got released this year that I've been playing consistently was NCAA football 25. I've been waiting on that game for a decade plus. So like when I look across the landscape, being a black man, I talked to Jazo briefly about this. Being a black man who grew up playing video games, do you know how many fucking video games I played where I was operating a white protagonist and didn't see myself in them for the most part, but I can understand their motivations? And now when we're in a situation as to where we have games to where you can create your own character, yes, I'm going to create someone in my likeness. I don't know, just how kind of like God did. Fuck is wrong with y'all? Like I don't I don't know what you thought this was gonna be. But and I love sports as well. Period, point blank. Um, but Xbox has definitely lost the plot. But I don't feel like this is any different from anybody else, as we just previously spoke about with Sony. I feel like they've gotten way too much money out of us by doing the bare minimum, and they're trying to look for any type of shortcut or corner cutter situation that they can get off while still making the most money. And it's not going to happen. I will tell you right now, I will go purely physical on your bitch ass and go into my backlog on both companies. I'm a person right now, I just moved. I have 2 cases of vinyls. We still have N64 games here. Like, this is the type of household that's the buying public. We will just say nah to y'all. I don't like it. I feel like that's disrespectful. And I feel like anybody in a high ranking position who feels like this is a comfortable decision to be on should be removed, be replaced, and their failure should be categorized and studied so that the next person installed in that position doesn't lose the company a couple billion fucking dollars. Because that's exactly what y'all are trying to do. That's me.
Fair enough. Well, since Cal touched on Xbox, you want to touch on Nintendo, Devin? What you think?
So I will admit that I've only heard the smallest of rumors when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2. Matter of fact, funny enough, I was just speaking to a coworker about it earlier today. So I do want to look more before I, start talking about it on my own. So I will take myself out of that one, knowing that I don't have enough information to really have an opinion just yet.
Fair. All I want out of Nintendo Switch 2 is for them to strengthen the hardware. I think the concept in and of itself is a beautiful concept. They just need to strengthen the hardware to somewhere above the Steam Dock's level. And because the Steam Dock's already proven it, along with all these other handhelds that are coming out the woodwork now, people are proving it can be done. They just need to find a way to jack up the strength of it. Y'all could basically, like, that is the one thing y'all can almost keep exactly the same, except strengthen it on the RAM, the graphic fidelity, all of it. Just push that to the next level, and y'all could ride out the Switch series for like another 7 years, and majority of people will be okay with it.
Oh, last bar, Jay. So I don't like how this is like these whispers that are happening with Nintendo are coming right off the heels of the PSP thing. Because it seems like yet again, with the live service games, the whoop de whoop, like somebody does something and you rush to be a competition to it. Stop. Get some help. In the words of Michael Jordan, don't do this. Just do your own thing well in your own time. Because at the end of the day, nobody's not going to buy a Nintendo handheld if it's done great. You know how many older people would literally buy it to play the original Super Mario?
A lot of people.
Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, if it's done great, just stop. Like, y'all are being weird now. Like, there's no reason for competition because the market isn't what the market was in the early 2000s. That's when it was dog eat dog. In the early 2000s, y'all just got rid of Dreamcast. Y'all just boxed Dreamcast about that big. Like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to race behind people.
And I can talk about that a little bit. Like, I was living pretty well during that time, and going back to that particular time, I was trying to stick with all three of those companies. At that time I had an Xbox, I had a PS2, I had an N64. I didn't switch over to the GameCube because by the time I decided to switch over to that, they were already working on the next system. So we were starting to get closer towards, the ideas of the Wii and so on and so forth. But at that time, yes, there was heavy competition between those three companies. Nowadays, they've pretty much found their own niche for each area, so there's really no need to do, as you said, rush to try to make the next thing after you've heard that someone else is making something.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing ever, and I'm gonna use that to segue to our three-body breakdown of the episode here, which is something Caleb's basically started saying last episode that I've decided, you know what, to kind of end our year in review here, we're just pushed into this episode. Why does this year in gaming feel inauthentic, empty, and stale? For me, I think part of the reason is that we as gamers have more information at our fingertips now. These companies, one, I think, start off with these high, super lofty expectations and never meet them for the most part. There are obviously the games this year that did meet those expectations. Again, Black Myth Wukong, Metaphor ReFantazio, Stellar Blade, etc. Even then, the companies that put those games out, they put on like 1 or 2 teasers the year before, and then no one said nothing until the game dropped. Like, I think we need to go back to that. Like, I get it, you want to build hype around your game, but build hype when the game is ready to at least be betaed. Like, stop doing this, like, here's a little bit, here's a little bit. No. Do the initial, like, ironically enough, it gives me hope for Kingdom Hearts 4 because they did their initial announcement that they're working on it. They did that little teaser of the intro with Sora asleep, and then he goes up to go fight one of the Heartless, and then we haven't heard jack since. So you know what? It gives me hope that, you know what, these companies are starting to learn again. Like, hey, give us just a little bit. We know it's on the horizon. When y'all are ready to show something real, show something real.
There's something to say about how useful silence can be when it comes to advertising. If you put out just enough to entice people and then just put out radio silence until closer to the end, people are already going to hype themselves up just because they're like, oh, hey, this was interesting. What could they possibly be doing? And they'll rev themselves up. You don't have to do anything else. All this kind of slow drip of all of that throughout the entire process, you're actually doing the opposite of what you were trying to do. You are killing the hype because you're already telling them what they should expect. So where's the surprise?
Yeah. And one thing I think also is killing some of these game companies with these high expectations is because they're putting these like these super high budgets and high expectations out now. Even when some of these games are successful, half the devs are getting fired by the end of the project just to hold up the value. Like I
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know if that's worth it because I mean, what was that game? Hi-Fi Rush? That game was magnificent. That was one of the best
Mm-hmm.
ideas that I've heard in a minute. You had the combat of the system based on beat to the music that was playing. That's genius. I'm
Mm-hmm.
surprised no one had really thought of that before. And the mere fact that 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 whole studio got killed immediately off the release of the well-selling game. What the hell? like, what the actual hell?
To be fair, I will go and say that Arts and Linko had kind of used that concept with using combat to the beat of the music in the past. But I will go and say that High Five made it far more exciting, and I have never seen it done with a game like that.
Yeah,
So
and to be fair, Archangel is more of a turn-based RPG. That game is
right,
like a platformer. Like it's
right.
like a
So that's
hack
why
and
I had to
slash.
give it them.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
hack and slash. I'm like, one, just the amount of planning you have to do to make sure the attacks, the frame rate doesn't get screwed up, the frame and just the thought process and the creativity you have to put to make that work. It's like that there was another game that did something similar. It's like a Zelda, not a Zelda clone, but it's very um, it's like I forget the name of the game. It's like Legend of something, but it's another type of game where everything is kind of flows to the music of the game, so your movements have to matter. And I'm just like, man, these companies with these great ideas, and how did you let them you killed the company off a hit game that kills me, man. Because I think it was the same thing with that one cat game, Stray. I think half
Yeah.
the devs for that company wound up getting fired too. Again,
But
that game about a stray cat roaming the city did numbers, and then you'll let
Mm-hmm.
the devs it doesn't give the actual players confidence that does buying the game even worth it? Should I just wait to rent it then? Because why waste my money if the studio's not we have more information now. You have to treat the gamers and the consumers with more respect. A lot of these devs are if you're not going to respect the devs, people are not going to see where their money's going.
Mm-hmm.
They just think it's going to go to a random CEO in the sky that's running around thinking he's, I don't know, Warbucks. We know more about this stuff now. Y'all can't just keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
my bad, I had to step away for a real quick situation. What I will come back and say that there was an interview that I peeped a while ago from an individual who was in the industry and then as time went on operated in the periphery of the industry. So there was a change of the guard that happened in the 60s or the 70s as to where these daddy warbucks, big cigar, puffin, tuxedo wearing guys realized that the hippies kind of knew better as far as culture wise than they did. So they put them into power. And then when the hippies, they let a few people in, obviously, who were creative and things like that around that time, you're looking at the mid 70s to the late 80s. They let them in. And then once they started to make their money back from those people, they turned into the exact same people that they didn't like. And then resulted back to the exact same money first formula that made sure that the older guards stepped down. This is what's happening in gaming actively right now. The creative does not come first. And that's the issue with the majority of shit. Video games, music, cinema, everything. Y'all lost the creators because y'all stopped liking people who were weird in their own distinct way. Period. This is not me going back against my word from about 20, 25 minutes ago about you basement dwelling motherfuckers. No, you are still not welcome. We're talking about people with talent who are just weird. You see what I'm saying? Like they're eclectic in their own way. They move how they move, blase blah. When those people got put to the back burner, that's when you start to see things start to suffer heavily. And if you think that I'm lying, look at what was being produced and put out in the 90s on limited budgets by not only white directors, but black directors, filmographers, however you want to categorize them, if you would like to. And then you look at how it looks in the early 2000s, then the mid 2000s, then the 20 teens, and then look at now. You slowly see the regression of the true creative. And the best movie of the year starts to get cut down more and more. The competition starts to get skimmed out. More so now in that 25 to 30-year era than you had ever seen from the 60s to the 80s, from the 80s to the 2000s. This is what the issue is. Y'all want people who lack mystique and are prevalent. That's what, me being as a hip hop person, that's what a lot of people got messed up about the Drake and Kendrick thing earlier this year, because it's still going. There's a Compton Christmas parade thing happening right now with this man. But my thing is, you can't poke a creative and expect no pushback. And y'all allowed a non-creative, i.e. Drake, somebody whose classic, in my mind, Take Care, was written by another nigga, to just play with somebody who does that. They do that. Would y'all allow Michael Bay to play with Scorsese? Like, let Michael Bay say, "Oh, you can't put out shit, Scorsese. Look at you, you're a pussy. Drop, Scorsese. Do something, Scorsese." Would y'all let that happen?
See, and I actually think, in a weird way, I think that should be allowed, just not in the way that you're using for the analogy. Like, fundamentally, I agree with your analogy. However, when I take this back to video games, I think that's what we're missing. Too many of these companies are trying to do too many similar things. When, like you said, the gaming industry was built on creativity and solving problems without either the technical know-how, the monetary capability, or just the constraints of the medium to figure out a program. One of the best, well-regarded horror games that just got remade and is considered one of the best horror games this year, Silent Hill 2. Yeah. The whole concept of the fog in that game was because they did not have the memory to build the game the way they wanted. So literally, the fog was a byproduct of trying to do something creative, and they just couldn't do it. Which in turn became one of the greatest gaming, like, especially in horror gaming, that became one of the best gaming things ever. Like,
right, but this is, as you talked about earlier, you talked about certain companies are good at certain things, and a lot of people are getting away from that due to actively trying to. That's what I'm saying. So I'm still in lock and step with you. It's just in a different thing because I'm talking about music. When I say lock and step, I'm talking about it's really like that because Kendrick actually comes from somewhere, and this is not, we're not bringing hip hop heavy handedly into this. I'm just showing you a metaphor. Kendrick comes from a place with a regional sound. You come from Florida. Florida has a regional sound. Georgia has a regional sound. DC has a regional sound. New York has a regional sound. Texas has a regional sound. You see what I'm saying? We don't know. I've said this before. We don't know what Canada, true Toronto, sounds like because their largest representative within the past 30 years runs around to whatever the hottest sound is and puts his name on it. That's the issue. So Drake is literally Bethesda. He's literally Take-Two Interactive. He's literally like these companies that's not your shit, but you run over there to go get something and bring it back. That's where I'm coming from. I've listened to Kendrick since them early disgusting mixtapes. I Love You Like Cook Food, Kendrick. You had some ugly work out here circulating through the streets earlier. You did. You did. You did. But some of the best do. But he found himself and he found his sound early on and locked it in and was like, bitch, I'm from California. Like, yes, I can do things to appease to the mainstream, but I'm still here. Like the same thing with because Naughty Dog was um Last of Us.
Yeah.
And it's like narratively, this is me. This is what I have. So like when you start to go from like not just saying them, but just I'm using it as an example, a narrative based company to a live service focused company, it's like, what the fuck? What are you doing? This is not you. And it feels weird. It feels jolted. It feels disorienting. You see what I'm saying? That's where I'm saying it. Like, you have one that actually has a sound that can do something and will be forever successful if they just do their thing versus somebody who is based off of trends. We're whatever the most popular thing is, we're doing it. We need to make money because we need to make money because money is money. That's where I feel like the split of 2024 was in gaming for me. Like it's people who are not supposed to be doing that shit. The people who actually know what they're doing, trying to do that, weren't supported for the most part. That's my opinion, though.
So there's a concept in business where a company that lacks resources, lacks funds, and so on and so forth, in order to succeed, they need to innovate. I feel like in the past, particularly before COVID, uh, game companies were forced to innovate. They were forced to, see, for example, using Silent Hill with the fog and so on and so forth. They knew they didn't have the resources, they didn't have the capabilities to do what they wanted to do with the game, but because they decided to innovate, they made something that to this day is seen as absolutely genius. Uh, Once COVID happens, a lot of game companies saw an influx of money because there were a lot of people who had, a little bit more free time, because of, the lockdowns and so on and so forth. Uh, I think that now a lot of those game companies feel that they have enough money where they don't have to innovate at all. They can just use their money to copy one another. And that's why, going to our initial topic there with why everything feels kind of a little hollow and inauthentic, that's one of the reasons why. They are not focusing on skill, they're focusing on, oh, hey, how much money can we go and use to just make this problem go away?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I was again, it's the same gaming podcast I mentioned earlier, Lot Culture Gaming, if anyone's interested. Um they were reading and talking about how someone basically was leaking about how a lot of these newer CEOs brought in people from like other industries that have nothing to do with gaming to try to transform the gaming industry into more of a how do we keep you on the teat rather than a product based this is what we're good at, here's our product, hope you like it.
Right.
So like these essentially money bros are like are the ones who have the power in the industry right now and that are ruining a lot of gaming, which is again outrageous because you brought up COVID, Devin, and what's crazy, what was name one of the biggest games of COVID? I'll keep it
Cyberpunk
Uh-huh.
came out during that time, right?
Yep.
yeah, but you want to know a game that did better than Cyberpunk
Hmm.
during COVID? Among Us. Those guys probably built
True.
that game off like a nickel and some shoestring. Like
Right.
not to diss the devs, y'all did a great job. I'm not saying. I'm just saying in comparative budget wise, y'all probably had like two paper cups tied by string essentially. But they made one of the most influential games for like 3 years straight because all it did was capture the co-op essence of playing a clue like figure it out game. It was like playing werewolf or mafia for some people virtually. That's essentially what they did.
Yeah.
Simple concept, made money. The game was initially free, and they still made gangbusters off of it. So,
Yeah. And Jason,
Hmm.
to your point, I think I heard somebody say it in a roundabout way while watching a watching one of the pseudo playoff games from the NBA this past week. But it's like
NBA Cup, yeah.
yeah, like it's the thing to where it's like y'all are trying to change, you need to evolve. That's the issue. You're trying to change the identity, the trajectory of the company when you just need to get better at what you already do. You don't need to change. Like we as consumers, we will rock with you if you do something excellent because you doing something excellent is what made us fuck with you in the first place. You don't need to change to run the race with these other people who are more than likely, because that's their bread and butter, doing something better than you. It takes us back to the plus minus conversation about Houston studying Golden State, but Houston hasn't won a championship since Akeem Olajuwon. Y'all are not doing that. That was in the 90s, by the way, for those who were like
Yeah,
cool.
not to mention to use that same analogy, the Rockets won with Akeem Olajuwon because they were the first team to do something that other teams didn't do. Albeit Michael Jordan wasn't in the league,
He was gone. Yeah, he was gone.
but they were the first team to run 3 guards and 1 big. And then the other person was just a random wing. They used a 3-guard set. Other teams tried to copy them afterwards. Didn't work. But so they did something different. And obviously when Michael Jordan wasn't there, they won 2 chips.
Yeah. So I mean, not to be a jerk or anything, Jazo, because I'm more so talking to the companies, like, especially with somebody with a business education background. I'm not saying that I'm the most understanding of the intricacies and the nuances of business, but fundamentals don't lie. That's why Tim Duncan has as many championships as he does. Stop trying to play outside of your frame. It doesn't make sense anywhere. Music, media, faith, sexual interactions with women and stuff like that. Bro, back to you incel niggas, because I know you're still watching. You're mad I talked to you a while ago. I'm talking to you. Get the asbestos out the corner of your house. But what I will say, stop punching outside of your weight. Period. That woman don't like you. Find somebody who you share interests with. You'll probably be better off, and you won't be so angry at the world and be arguing with us online about fucking video game thongs. It's weird. It's weird, bro. But that's
and you know what? I'm just gonna kind of round it back to the point where it's like, you know what? I figured it out. Too many of these companies treat games like an investment, bro. They're just investment, bro. To them, it could have been Bitcoin. It could have been high-end freaking trading cards, whatever. It's investment, bro, thinking. They think, oh, I need to put this money in. This money needs to come out. Again, it's an art. Like, art in and of itself proves that it's valuable when it's done with creativity. Even that stupid duct tape banana thing that that people have been selling for like tens of thousands of hundred thousands of dollars like every other year, like someone was creative enough to get y'all with that one. Like it's dumb, but I mean, like, I just want games to maintain creativity, because again, some of the best games I've ever played did something a little different. They were a little like, there was always a charm to a game that does great. Like, we grew up on games that barely made. They probably spent like maybe 100,000 developing the game, and then they might make like 600,000, and then they would make the sequel. Like, I think these companies just need to be like. Ironically enough, some of these businesses don't do enough business. Be like, all right, I'm just going to use this as an example. I'm not saying these are the real numbers. These are not real. This is just easy math. So let's say Helldivers 2, right? They're like, all right, in 3 years, we want you to develop Helldivers 3. Let's say it took them, again, easy math. Let's say it took them $5 million to develop Helldivers 2, right? Because they're a relatively small team. Now let's say that Sony's backed them, like, you know what? We're gonna give you this much money, make it rock. Stick to that budget. I don't care, whatever. Just let it rock. And then if it failed, so be it. If it succeeds, so be it. Don't just throw the money and just be like, oh, we gotta jam this money in to get our money back. If something failed, this is why you should be having multiple projects to begin with their own budgets, and stick to that budget for the most part. Obviously, there can be things that change, but like, isn't this business 101? Don't they teach you this on like the first day of class? You put in this investment, you hope to make this much, but as long as you make this much, it works. Like, isn't that the point?
Yeah, literally. Whatever.
Diversification.
Business and money saving 101. Diversify. Don't put everything in one basket. Well, yes. On the end of that, we'll move on to, normally this is the section we call Caleb's final rant, but this is more of a wrap-up discussion for the game of the year. It was just a thought that Caleb had, and basically we just wanted to end off this year in gaming with some of the most painful video game character deaths we've experienced. So since it was your topic here, Caleb, you go first. You tell us what you got.
All right. So I'm going to tell you a small handful of people whose deaths affected me, like on a biochemical level in my brain. And then I'm going to tell you one that I was happy that the motherfucker died. I'm going to be honest with you. And I didn't think about that last part until I was like reflecting on the people that I was like, oh, that hurt.
Okay.
John Marston from Red Dead. The first Red Dead. That hurt me, bro.
Fair enough.
Spent hours with this man. Hours. And I'm not pausing it. Fuck you. I got a wife, nigga. I'm not pausing anything anymore. Haha. Joke's on you, nigga.
You won the game. Congratulations.
John Marston, bro. And then the way he died was in such I know people called it like going out in a blaze of glory, but in my mind, that was such an unceremonious way to go out because of the stuff that I got into with him. You see what I'm saying? It was like people just show up at your crib. Your son's like, hey, dad, there's a bunch of people outside trying to kill you. Like, bro, oh my God, that hurt. And then trying to reload the old safe to see if you can catch everybody in the eagle eye joint. It's like, it's not working, bro. Like, you're getting shot. It's like, oh my God, that hurt. That hurt me. Second one was Roman from GTA 4. That was Nico Bellic's cousin, if I remember correctly. Now, mind you, I did some we went out and hung out every now and again, but for the most part, I was ignoring him because I was on the way to do bullshit. So when he died, in my brain, I was like, I turned my back on my cousin when he needed me the most. Like, there were times where he probably just wanted to talk and I didn't show up. And now he's dead. There's no, you can't say sorry to a tombstone for real. Like, it's not gonna hit. Mama Murphy's death in Fallout 4. I don't know if people know her. She was like a psychic that got her psychic powers from taking drugs. I think it was Jet, if I remember correctly. The drug's name was Jet, if I remember correctly. But I was so curious about my future in the game, and if I was being railroaded in the game, I was feeding this old woman drugs to tell me my future, and then she just died, and I was like, damn. I didn't mean that to happen. I didn't want you to die. I didn't want you to overdose. It's fucked up. I enabled you with your drug addiction. It hurt me. It did. I cried a thug tear in the crib. And my last painful death was Carlos from Saints Row 2. because not only did he die, he was murdered, and you couldn't save him. They tied him to the back of a tow truck, if I remember correctly, and drug him around the city and let you hear him screaming your ear as you were trying to get. When you found him, he wasn't dead. He was about to die, and you had to shoot him in the head to put him out of his misery. Oh my God, that broke me as a kid. That as a kid, like on some old Yeller type shit, like you gotta put down your dog. No pun intended. That's crazy. Not your man's. We respect you, Carlos. That's not no disrespectful shit. You my dog, like colloquially, not a dog ass nigga. So we had to put you down. Um, the one that I did laugh at, however, was Vic Van Leer. He was a friend of whatever your superstar was from 2K and 2K16. He was running around calling himself a friend of Freak. Your nickname was Freak. He was being an asshole to people. He was a terrible person. He took your car, got in a car chase with police officers, and died in the police crash. And then at the end of the game, once you get to the essentially the pinnacle of your career, somebody calls you and it's like, yeah, we need you to identify a body. And in my mind, I was like, fuck him. He was terrible he was terrible for like 150 hours, Jazo. Like that's, you know how long that is playing the game. Every time you get on, it's a dude just being an asshole, a jerk, trying to steal money from you to make a mixtape, going over here trying to have sex with your sister. Like all this just bad stuff. It's like, bro, I'm glad you're dead, bro. You rolled a couple of nat ones on a death save. Fuck you. The guys don't want you here. But that was me. And these were the ones that immediately came to mind to me. I'll be honest.
All right. Those some quality picks. What you got, Devin? You want to go next?
Sure. I only have two that really stood out. One of which you, John, you would know. And you probably know if I just told you, from Final Fantasy XIV, from Heavensward.
The dog. The homie.
Yeah. Hashifam. Oh my God. That one right there, when you get into that part of the game, life already kind of sucks as it is. There's a lot going on. You really don't know who you can trust. There is one person throughout all of it who is really backing you and always by your side.
It's the road dog.
Yeah. And the way he ends up dying, it's like, no. The one person who has been your, second in command by you this entire time dies. Still helping you. And even afterwards, you still see the effects of the things he's done. And you're just like, this is just a constant reminder that, hey, he died. No, why couldn't you be here right now? That hit hard.
And the thing is, because I know you haven't played it, Caleb, but they got him in a real pussy ass way too. Like that was some bullshit. Right? How they killed him.
That was some bullshit. Which, when that happens, and all of a sudden you're told, "Oh, hey, you can fight afterwards," I'm already hyped. I'm like, "Let's go! I gotta avenge this dude. I don't care."
Yeah, they were cooking with that one.
Mm-hmm. So well played there. On the other side of that, 9S from Nier Automata. So the way that they have him die, it is tragic because you can't avoid it in any way, shape, or form. And they press that home throughout the entire game. There is that inevitability of, like, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, this is going to happen. And it's not even so get used to it, enjoy it. No, you're not going to enjoy this. We're just going to beat you over this and make you feel sad about this. And you know this as a player. You understand that they are, actively manipulating your emotions and playing with your heartstrings. Yet you still feel the same way about it.
I don't like that at all. I don't like that.
It's one of those, I know you're playing me, But you're right. So, for me, it definitely had an effect. Throughout every playthrough of that game, I always have to go and say, isn't there something we could have done? And really, there isn't.
Yeah, no, the 9S one was that one is rough because again, that's one of those games that's already made to design to make you think too much. And the way to get 9S, where like they keep sprinkling in that hope, like it's the Avengers versus Thanos, where you keep seeing the signs of hope that they're gonna win, and they're not going to. Like every time you're like, oh, okay, they're gonna figure that out right here. Nope. So that is
And something to add to that, at this point, I can't really say it's much of a spoiler, especially because it happens so early in the game. The first time he dies is very early on in the game. So you would think that, okay, you're kind of used to it at that point, but nope. They just find different ways of doing it.
Yeah, and the thing about it, Caleb, because they're robots, so they basically, depending on how they die, they just get beamed to the cloud essentially, and just make a new body. Not that time.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, it's a bit of a spoiler, so I won't ruin it just in case you ever do want to play it. But like for the people who haven't played it out
I
there,
only played it for a few hours. And then I forgot that something came out, and it took me away, and I never went back. But I've only played it for a few hours.
Yeah, no, if you got some time, get back to it, bro. That game cooks.
Yeah. Like, they have a lot of the payoffs towards the end of the game. After the first couple of endings, honestly.
Yeah.
By the way, there's 26 endings. There's only like 5 that are actually, full play.
Why do I have to subject myself to this bullshit? I don't.
To be fair, some of those endings are like joke endings. Like if you do something a particular way, the game ends, but they're not real. There's like 5 real-ish endings.
Okay.
And
right.
2 of them happen while you're playing the game normally. So it's like, if you just play the game, you're going to hit 2 of them by like default. Some of the ones are just like jokes. So,
like, there's one that you can literally get at the start of the game.
Yeah. Like it's
like first 5 minutes, you're good.
Yeah. So I'll go on to mine. I had some time to think, so I've got 3. Yeah, I've got 3. So one is fairly recent, but it's also, this is from Persona 3 Reload. When Shinjiro dies, that hit me hard because one, this is a remake, so I'm thinking back to when I played it in high school or middle school. Actually, when I played it back in middle school, that hit me hard because that was the first time a game hit me with the fake out, where I'm like, oh, he ain't none. Everyone's gonna be good. We all gonna be chill, and then the dude shoots him with the real gun, and he dies. I was like, oh, wait a minute, that wasn't supposed to happen. And the reason I call it the fake out is because that's not even the real climax of the game. Usually some crap like that is like what spurs everybody on, and it does, but that's not what winds up being like the real oh shit moment of the game. So that was like the first time a game hit me with like a real fake out. So I was like, oh, yo, okay. So that for me is one of the first ones. And then these are from the Horizon series. Ross from the first one, like this dude basically found this girl, got basically ostracized from his own clan because he decided to take care of this girl he found in the wild, and then gets murked within the first like 3 hours of the game. I was like, that no. That's like saying, hey, the kid from the new God of War game, what's his name?
Atreus.
That's like saying, hey, Kratos found Atreus, raises him for a little bit in the beginning of the game, and then Kratos gets off, and now you play as him for the rest of the game. What? like that. I was just like, hold on. I was not prepared for y'all to cook like this. But then in the sequel, I'm not going to say how, because it's a key plot point, but my nigga died. The black dude died. I was like, come on, man. He's been the road dog since the first game. Come on! I was so mad. I went on every every person from the clan that's involved with that, I murked every camp. I saw they camp. I don't care what I was doing. Bombs on Baghdad. I was going after all of them. I was not happy when that happened. I
So
was so pissed.
I was gonna add this, Jazo. I just want to add an honorable mention. This person wasn't from a game. They're from a TV series. And we can talk about the TV series on like a different TV series and movies on another episode. I don't know if y'all watch Sons of Anarchy whatsoever. This is a spoiler. I don't give a fuck. It's a decade and some change old at this point. Bro, they killed my man's Opie in the series. I know that doesn't mean anything to you. This man was the best friend of the main character. They went to prison on some shit they could beat. You know what I'm saying? If they had enough time, they could have beat that case. They ended up beating that case. But the rival gangs was like, nah, fuck that. We want to we need to kill one of y'all. And Opie was like, I volunteer as tribute. They didn't just kill him, Jazo and Devin. They were like, bet. They put them behind a bulletproof glass in a different room so they could watch this man get murdered. And he was fighting. He was holding them off. And they're throwing the squabbles. He was, and a man came behind him with a fucking plumber's pipe. Like the pipe that goes from your toilet to the wall. And he, before he got hit, he looked at his man and was like, it's okay. It's all right. Killed him. Oh my God. My heart, I'm loud. My bad. My heart went to my asshole, bro. Like, that's how, like, my stomach dropped like that. Like, y'all killed him like this? He looked at his man and was like, it's okay. It's okay. It's going to be all right. And he died, like, I teared up. I did in my crib by myself watching this shit. I teared up. But we can talk about the rest of these at a different installment. But
yeah, we'll just add that to the docket for the new year. I'll wrap things up with my last person. I was like, this is the one I was happy got killed. Again, you brought one up, so I had to go pull one out the gaming history. To be fair, he was a villain, so like,
oh yeah,
straight up. But he was like the worst. If we're bringing it back to whole racism and shit, this man was the worst, bro. In Tales of Symphonia, when you finally got to kill Kavar, this man, first of all, he was a half elf that like used these crazy ass powers to basically enslave humans and like make parasitic energy balls out of them, like literally. That's like the plot, bro. This man was racist as hell to humans, like straight up. To the point where like the dude was basically bragging about how he killed the main character's mom. He was like, your mom was he was like, your mom was a hoe, she stole my stuff, she ran like this man was wilding. Now imagine this game looks like an anime, like chibi anime, but like these people were not. Yeah, no, they was wilding in that game. So the main character, after you win that boss fight, the main character just walks up, eats him straight through the stomach, and then basically the road dog with you comes up behind you and shanks him too. Yeah, they squatted up on him to Kendrick straight up, just got him twice. And then they walk off. He's like, feel the pains for all the humans you killed, and then he pulls his sword out. Like I was like, that's what I'm talking about.
That's cold.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I will show you that scene if I can find it another day. But bro, that like when that man died, because the thing is, that man has been like trying to track y'all down, kill y'all, stop the savior of the world. Like this man has been doing some racist ass shit the whole game before y'all just squat up on him, and then y'all get to end him. That was so satisfying. I was like, but yeah, like, and this is why I love games with great stories, especially like they do their job when they make these characters like despicable or just evil.
Yeah.
Like when you take out the first boss of Persona 5, Hamashida, when you finally take care of that freaking pedophileastic dude, satisfying as fuck. Bro, you might not need to play the game, Caleb, but when you look up the first dude from Persona 5, you see some of the clips, you're like, nah, kill his ass. Like, so, and this is why again, I said it last episode, I'll say it again. I just want games to maintain their creativity and stay these great mediums of art that we can just remember forever, because just like movies and music, some of these games just bring you back to a time and place, and like there's no replacing that. And one thing that's beautiful about being a human is that we can always remember some of the best moments in our lives, and those will always bring us joy. Games are very, just like music can bring you back to a time and place, just like certain TV shows can bring you back to a certain time, games can just bring you back to this time where you're just like, you can experience pure joy or experience pure sad. Like it's just another form of art, and I just want these game companies to actually just maintain that art again. That's more than anything else. That's what I want.
And no,
So
that was the thing, Jason. Lastly, my bad. That was the thing, even about the people that I presented that had those impactful video game deaths. Like, if you pay attention, those were the companies that I was shitting on today. Because it's like you have moments. Like you know what to do. Or at least the writers, the creatives knew what to do. Like Red Dead Redemption, that's Rockstar. Roman killed in GTA 4, that's Rockstar. Mama Murphy, that's Bethesda. Carlos, I didn't talk about Volition or anything. But Vic Van Leer, that's from Take Two Interactive with 2K. Like, y'all have it. You have it within yourselves to essentially humanize not only us, but our experiences in whatever shoes we may walk in light of those experiences. And it's like, I just don't want that to be lost. I'm thinking about kids at this point in my life, and I want them to have those like, wow moments. Like, just don't, you've already robbed us. Don't rob the next generation.
facts. Any final words, Devin?
Honestly, I feel like you guys have really hit the mark. A lot of games nowadays are missing those moments that really make you feel something. Um, I think that that is one of the big things for stories from like books and so on and so forth that really tie people in and really make them feel like, oh, hey, this is something I want to read over again and again, knowing that what's going to come and still feeling those same feelings as you did before. Games used to kind of do the same exact thing, and we're kind of missing that nowadays. Uh, when I was playing Ghost of Tsushima, tell me how one of the deaths that hit me the hardest wasn't like one of the characters that you knew, and had spoken to as a human, but the horse. How do you make that such a sad scene that I feel that badly about my horse? Like, again, I'm not trying to go and say that, an animal, you shouldn't feel anything about an animal dying. Don't get me wrong. Don't read into that more than you needed to there. Because I know some of you people out here are going to be like, oh, hey, no. But what I'm saying is that they did such a great job of making that relatable that you feel those emotions that are tied to it as if that was a real living horse or a real living being. That's something that we're missing nowadays.
Yeah. And to wrap things up today, I've got two quotes, again, very video game themed, to kind of wrap things up. First one is a little bit of fun. We have, hey, look, listen. Anyone who's played any Zelda game knows that's Navi from Ocarina of Time. In the not funny way, I feel like this quote summarizes what the game industry just needs to do. Hey, look and listen. Look at what y'all are doing. Listen to your consumers. Y'all will be fine if you do that. And then my actual quote is from Persona 3. You don't have to save the world to find meaning in life. Sometimes you need something simple, like someone to take care of. And honestly, I think the game companies have focused on being too complex, where sometimes all you need is something simple. Look at Among Us. Look at some of these simple indie games. I mean, a one man created a game based around playing poker as an RPG. Like, sometimes you don't need to overthink it. You just need to have a little bit of creativity and a solid idea. And on that note, I've been your boy John.
This is Dev.
This is Cal.
And this has been our year in review of gaming for 2024. Peace.